This is a Headgum podcast.
Extra. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Extraordinarians. My name's Kristen Shaw, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Matt Oberg.
Tony Hale.
What?
He said Tony Hale.
Oh, yeah, Tony. Yeah, because I talked over you. You know what's happening here is not good rhythm or precision. And you know who has it? Our next guest.
Oh, wow.
Nailed
April Jennifer Choi is a record holder of dozens of things that she has created and conquered. She has held the record for most arrows caught in one hand. She's held the record for breaking the sound barrier with a whip. It goes on and on. I can't wait to talk to her. She has a brain that we are all privileged to get a peek into.
Yeah. I mean, imagine catching one arrow. Okay, that's hard enough.
I would catch it in my gut.
Yeah, I can catch an arrow. Yeah, with my face. Yeah. But somehow this person has gotten so good at catching arrows that she's the best at it in the world. And that's impressive.
And more than arrows, we're going to get into it. Tony, do you want to get into it?
I'd love to get into it. And here we go.
Where do you work with such cool coworkers?
I work at Kennedy Space Center.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
A lot of people wear a NASA shirt but don't have,
Yeah.
can't back it up.
So I have a pink, like hot pink Gixxer 750 that I redid all the fairings, did exhaust, and then it has a unicorn horn stuck on the front. So I ride that in and out of work, and people will see me on that.
Wait, what is it? This is a car? What's it called?
Oh, sorry. It's a motorcycle.
Okay, that's cool.
Suzuki GSXR 750.
Yeah, Tony knew that, but I didn't know. I didn't know what it was.
I can send a photo if you want to reference it at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the Extraordinarians. We really appreciate you coming. The Extraordinarians is we video. We chat with extraordinary people.
Video.
We do video you.
But to say
we chat with
we video something
extraordinary people who are doing extraordinary things like yourself, things that we probably never will do. Maybe.
We're not ruling it out.
We're not ruling it out.
We're learning about them.
Yeah, we're learning about it. And April, if you could, well, first of all, today we have April Choi. And if you could describe.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes.
And you broke the record for, I'm going to let you finish that sentence.
There are 40 options to finish that sentence.
I think the one
you.
that brought you to us was catching the most arrows in, I think it was 3 minutes.
3 minutes was 62 arrows.
But I did not know about 40, April. That's
40 records broken.
We got to get to that. Wait, so you broke the record for catching how many in 3 minutes? The most arrows?
It sounds like Kristen has a more accurate number than I remember.
It's fine. It's Tony can't hear me when I talk, even in person. It's just the frequency of my voice, I think, is a little high for him. But we saw you do it, and we saw you whipping arrows and just like all of these cool things.
Yeah.
First of all, pretty cool to break a Guinness record and then be like, I don't even remember.
They're so
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me.
Yeah, what's the one you want to talk about, April? We're all ears.
Oh, wow. So for Guinness, I have, I think up to this point, 23 Guinness World Records.
What?
And then a bunch from like Elite, Online World Records, Record Center, I think a couple other organizations.
Wow.
What is your top three favorite?
Most proud.
Most proud.
The longest whip, fastest whip, and loudest whip.
Yeah.
Longest whip. The Guinness one was somewhere around 260 some. The Record Center one is 364.5 feet or 111 meters. The loudest whip, I have tattooed up and down my body. It was also the whip I used to get the first Schlieren image, which is a imaging technique to be able to see the pressure variations through air.
Yeah,
so we got to see the bow shock develop off the tip of the whip.
Whoa.
So it's one of the first ones that ever got to see that. So that's from my physics nerd. So I have that whip tattooed all over my body. So it's a 10-foot whip.
Okay.
It starts here, which is the handle.
God, I see.
It goes all the way up. It surrounds here, and then the tip of it, I don't know how the best way to show this with a headset.
Right.
But the tip of it runs all the way up, and then there's a bow shock that comes off the back shoulder. It's pretty hard to see.
Tell me what a bow shock, it's like a sort of a shockwave looking thing?
Yeah, it's the reason they call it a bow shock is it looks like a bow, B-O-W, like an archery bow, but it also forms the bow as in a bow of a ship, right? That pointy end. So when something cuts through the water, you see the bow has like 2 wakes that come to the side, and then the actual wake comes behind the boat. So when you break the sound barrier, you're getting this compression of a ton of air molecules, and they're getting to the point where they can no longer speed off fast enough, so they're colliding with the other ones. So then you have that discontinuity of air pressure that suddenly rises, and that creates that like bow shock you see. So when you see things start moving like near the speed of sound, it's fairly like parabolic. And then when you start seeing it move like Mach 2-ish, like it's a transition zone, you start getting it pointier and pointier and pointier. When you see bullets will like Mach 3, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm assuming it's tangent 1/3, which is somewhere around that, 15 to 20 degrees.
Wow.
When you did the loudest whip sound, did everybody just get on the ground? What was the response from hearing it?
Oh, we all had earplugs in. It will deafen you. I've cracked whips where I didn't think it would be as loud as it was, or I got them really, really close to me because you can control the distance. And when you pop it next to your ear rings for the remainder of the show, and you're like, great, now I can't hear my assistant audience members because my ear is ringing. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this. When I do the record, we all had headphones on. Yeah.
And is it true that it's not the sound of the whip, it's the sound of the sonic boom? Is that true, or is that...
I mean, the whip is generating the sonic boom. Once you get that shock wave, as long as you're in front of that shock wave, everyone will clearly hear the reflections, but the people who hear that reflection the most are the people in front of the shock wave traveling it. So if you're listening to a rocket go up in the air, but you're standing underneath it as it launches, that shock wave may not develop until after it's already exceeded the press. So a lot of people are curious of why there are some model rocket launches that they'll launch, but they'll never hear a shock wave, because once it breaks Mach 1, that cone of sound is already outside the limit of where the person is.
Right.
So that shock wave will go through. So if you are outside of that boundary when you see a rocket launch, then you'll hear it. If you're 3 miles out, then you'll hear it approximately, I think it's 5 seconds per mile. So he'll 15 seconds later. If you're 3 miles out, you'll hear 15 seconds later. If you're 5 miles out, you'll hear about 25 seconds later.
And just for legal reasons, all of this science it can't be proven. We don't know. This is alleged, No, I'm kidding.
So when you cracked that whip, you were saying the loudest. Are the other ones based on sound too, or are you actually hitting something? Is the competition you snap something, or you hit a bottle or something like that?
For the loudest whip, it is the loudest decibel peak that you're getting.
Wow.
We didn't quite clarify the rules at that point, so I measured something that was called impulse. So impulse is over a specific time range. So I measured basically what's the average sound over 5 milliseconds. Okay. While later on we discovered that it was actually peak. So you can get just any sound of peak as long as it's in a calibrated microphone. The problem with some people not wanting to do peak is if your sample rate is very poor, you get signal aliasing. So for example, if you get this parabola type shape or a peak point, and you took a data sample here and a data sample here, you get a cutoff at here and you don't get to predict that. But also if you have any noise in your data, you end up maybe catching something that might be out of range, that doesn't quite clip it. You also get audio clipping. I'm sure there's an audio engineer listening to this going, crap, she actually understands what I'm doing.
Nodding very big behind the camera.
Vigorous nodding from Kevin. Yeah.
It's all those clipping values that you have to move down and move around so it sounds good, and then normalize. All that comes in consideration when you're trying to figure out exactly what does it mean to be the loudest, right? So we're essentially, imagine a microphone it's a certain distance away. So with a 10-foot whip, it was like 16 feet. I don't remember exact rules. I think it's the length of the whip plus 6 feet. And then you're measuring the decibels. There's different decibel ratings. There's like decibel A, decibel B. I think there's even a decibel C. Don't quote me on that. One is attuned specifically
I wouldn't
for
be able to
human
quote
ear.
you even if I tried.
Oh, wait, are you a scientist?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You are
Okay.
so smart.
You are,
April.
right?
Yeah, it's that this is my job. I do a lot of AVSA, which is accelerations, vibration, shock, and acoustic analysis for space vehicles.
Oh,
Wow.
How
wow.
mad are you about those O-rings from the Challenger?
Whoa.
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of case study that goes into those.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So when
Tony
you-
really ready to
Yeah,
segue away
exactly.
from there, and I think I
So-
am too, to be honest.
So let me ask you this. So with when you catch arrows, also, are
Yep.
you using the same science? Meaning obviously knowing where to stand because you don't want to get hit.
Yep.
But something kind of how much science goes into it? Is it the same amount as it does with the whip?
It depends on the record. Like I went deep into a lot of like computational fluid dynamics, figuring exactly like how sound waves interact, the best type of crack to use. It actually turns out directionality is more important than power when it comes to a microphone picking it up. Because as I said, if I aim that way, you can barely hear a crack. But if I aim toward the microphone, you can hear it clearly. And that's because that compression wave is hitting the microphone immediately.
Okay.
Versus like you're getting just sound bounces that are coming around. So like there is science going into like figuring out what's the best setup, what's the best crack to use. And proximity was more important, right? So if I did a crack that was right over my head, you have the inverse square law. It's just going to run out of essentially energy by the time it gets to the microphone. Versus the reason they had that like whip length plus 6 feet is if you crack it linearly toward it, then once you generate the shock wave, you only have 6 feet. So like if you're doing, say, a 6-foot whip, and you're cracking it overhead, you have 12 feet. So inverse square law, you're getting something roughly a quarter of the amount of energy toward that microphone.
Again,
so we're talking about like
allegedly.
Yeah. So for like the arrow catching, we're still doing things like, okay, what's the velocity? How do I get it consistent area? So when I
Right.
first started it was with a bow stand.
Right.
And then like I'm getting it to an exact point. I'm getting the speed consistent. It's firing out of a stand, so I know exactly where it needs to be, exactly where I need to catch it. So like, that's how I started training it.
And then you've done it where you use the whip to trigger the bow and then catch the arrow that's coming at you. So did your passion for science come first, and then you're like, oh, this whip will help me, experiment with sound, or were you passionate about the whip and then you were like, I want to learn more about this? How did this happen?
They kind of melded together happenstance. So my master's degree was implementing artificial intelligence and computational fluid dynamics. So I had to do a lot of well, not the whips yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had to do like a lot of calculations in terms of like Eulerian Lagrangian frameworks for doing CFD. So at that point, I'm studying fluid dynamics, and specifically, I was looking at shockwave development. So coincidentally, that lined up with me going to join the circus.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Weird path, I know. So I went off, decided that I'm going to join circus arts, found some people who do whip cracking. They showed that to me, and I'm like, oh, this is something I want to study. So then I got to study it alongside with my research that I did in my academia with what I wanted to do as like a hobby, and then realized if I combined these two, I could accelerate my understanding of whip cracking by using the understanding that I had in engineering.
Wow.
So they overlapped. I graduated in 2010. So then I got my first real engineering job in like 2011, and then I got a big break with the 2012 Indianapolis Super Bowl because there were performers there who invited me to join them for the Super Bowl Village.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
You know what? I think there's a show in itself of when you get into the science, watching the three of us nod our heads like we know what you're talking about.
Well, you are so articulate and
You're
and
so articulate.
It's very clear. Like when smart people talk, like Einstein made it very clear. Like I do know what's going on.
Yep.
Now, when you whip that, when you get that crack, like I like how you were able to visually describe the water parting with the bow, or the bow or the bow. What do you see, April, in your head when you get that crack? Do you see that image, or what do you visualize?
It depends on what the thing I am doing. If I'm purely trying to like get a clean crack, I'm like visualizing the plane that the whip is in. Because when you crack a whip, you're trying to essentially create a loop, and that loop is now traveling. So if I'm doing like rhythmical stuff, I'm trying to imagine that I'm like stuck in an imaginary box with two walls right here, and I'm trying my best to keep the whip in plane in those walls, because otherwise they start moving around, they don't crack as cleanly. If I'm targeting things and I'm trying to zone in, like, this is kind of nerdy, but I imagine like a bell curve, like a normal distribution function, and I imagine that bell function along the length of the flower that I'm aiming for. So for example, if it's like my wife's, like I'm cutting a flower out of my wife's mouth, I'm not putting that bell function dead center, because like there's statistical variation and I will be off by like maybe 3 or 4 inches this way, 3 or 4 inches this way. Say that's 1 standard deviation, so 2 standard deviations, I'm going to be off like, say, 6 inches. So I'm like shifting that slightly over. So the risk of me hitting my wife is like 3 deviations, and 3 is like 1 out of 1,000. So 1 standard deviation is like, I think 13%. I don't remember my P and T tables that well.
So you're seeing graphs and numbers like when we see the beautiful mind like floating in front of you. You don't see the image of the air moving.
No, I am pretty much like, if I draw it out, I see like, I'm going to do like a pair of lips, a flower, some petals, like that. And then I'm seeing like a bell curve that's essentially like this. So therefore, I know I should be aiming approximately right there. Mm-hmm. So then one sigma is like there, 2 sigmas there, 3 sigmas there, and then there's my wife's face. So like there's a chance I will miss, but I'd rather miss and repeat the trick than hit my wife in the face. Because like you have statistical variation. Yeah. So that's where like math helps, is like you aim for the center and you're off this way, you're likely to hit it. And I would rather err just a little bit more of missing a trick and having to repeat it than hitting my wife in the face on a stage.
Yeah. Precision, control.
Yeah. I have a question. So if we've talked to a lot of people who have done very seemingly very scary things.
Okay.
And they, it's fascinating. And so with you, there's when you're pulling that, when you whipped that arrow and it came to you, there's a chance it could hit you, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you find yourself trusting the science? Is it kind of the thing where you've done so much research of the curves and all that kind of with the science that takes away a lot of your fear of it?
Yeah, I know the risks, right? Like there's a blindfolded like bladed as in it's a broadhead. It's not just like a field point or a blunt point. So I'm whipping the bow. It's coming at me. I'm blindfolded, and it's a field. Yeah.
Wow.
But like I have shot that stand through. I have a little PVC stand that has like a little square on top of it. I know it goes through that every single time, right? So I am very, very confident it's going through. As long as there's no wind, so you have to take a pause to be like, do you feel wind on your face?
Okay.
And then you're cracking it, and you're like constantly monitoring. If I feel a gust, I am going to move. And then you hear it crack, and you're like, now is about the time this arrow is coming. I know for a fact, so I purposely set it up so that the square is like right here-ish. So therefore, when I move that out of the way and I stand on top of my mark, I know for a fact that arrow is coming in this framework right here. Right. So then at that point, I'm putting my hand here, which is the start of that square. And I'll do this relative to the camera. And then when I end up, this is hard to do because it's not quite straight through, but my hand follows that path.
I see.
So as long as I follow that path, I know that the arrow should be in that. So then it becomes a timing issue. It's like, okay, it should feel like beat, 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 back, beat, beat, forward, beat, crack, arrow. Like I have that rhythm in it. So then the variation, if I'm trying to catch it blindfold, is all in timing. So then there's a specific speed that I aim for.
Right.
So let's say if you're going for like 100 feet per second and you have a 24-inch arrow, you have 200ths of a second. So I'm playing with the speed, arrow lengths, and other variables to be like, okay, how much margin can I buy myself? And if I'm using a field point or something that's sharp, I'm trying not to close early. Because if I close early, that's when it hits. Right. I would rather catch the fletchings.
Right.
I mean, ideally I catch the middle, but I'd rather catch the fletchings than catch the point.
How are the neighbors with this? How is that? How is your relationship?
Oh, they're so entertained.
Yeah.
They're incredibly amused. There's plenty of times where they're just like standing in their yard, just watching us going, what are you doing? And then you have to like explain the whole system. They're like, can we join? I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
She's whipping arrows at herself again.
Yeah.
But where can you practice making like sonic booms with 10-foot whips that, just
The park, I
guess. The park?
Yeah,
that'd be tricky.
Yeah, as long as you're not like down. There's a gig I did out in LA, and I didn't realize they had like gunshot microphone things. Like so as long as you're not an area that people can be. Or I've done gigs in hotels, and I was practicing on the stage, and apparently somebody walked by. They called security. Front desk got involved. Cops showed up. I was walking out as the cops walked in. I'm like, what's going on? Walked by con ops, like eavesdrop on the conversation. And one of them was like, somebody called about shots fired. I'm like, I wonder where that was. And they're like, oh, it was probably near the main room. I'm like, wait, how long ago was that? It was like 20 minutes ago. I'm like, that was me. You gotta go walk in and be like, okay, let me explain the situation. So luckily where I'm currently at, there's open carry gun laws, but there's also just a ton of space behind me. So there's like fireworks happen all the time. I think whip cracking is the least of people's worries when they hear loud booms.
Do you check the whips, or is it a carry-on? What do you?
You have to. There are ways of getting a whip on a plane. They are complicated and difficult to follow, or does not follow the rules. So I will not admit to.
Are there
TSA
like rules about onboard whips?
There are, and it's changed over the years. The limited ruling right now when it comes to the DSA, to the best of my knowledge, is rigid cylindrical objects over the length of 12 inches. So like you can't have, say, like a 13-inch metal wand or like torches or things. Like the handle is usually that long. So if you're like an all plastic whip, you can bring it, but it can't be like rigid. Otherwise, you'd have to only use it as like a mobility device. There's like a lot of rules where we're just like, what can we get around? Easiest thing is just check them.
Yeah.
I do have like a whip that can come apart into sections, and I made the handles into 2 plastic sections.
A travel
There's
whip.
no steel shot in there. Yeah, it's a travel whip, so that in case, because it's happened before where I'm checking my whips in, I have a show the next day, and then I'm like, they don't arrive there. So like I just the James Corden Late show, and I flew there, and they couldn't find my bags. Then I'm like, oh shoot, how do I perform when I don't have any whips on me and I'm a whip performer? So then it was a mad dash of trying to message a whole bunch of people and posting to social media. Who has whips I can borrow in LA? I will explain this later.
Did somebody come through with a whip?
Oh yeah, there's a lovely gentleman by the name
Harrison
of
Ford.
I wish. That would be awesome. I believe, who trained Harrison Ford? Was it Anthony DeLongis, I think? No, he trained
Anthony.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay, yeah, so Anthony DeLongis.
Wait, so I think you said that does your wife perform with you?
She did. She's not so much a stage personality. She likes to be the helper backstage. She likes to be a stage manager more than she likes to be on the stage performing. So we don't do performances together anymore. She likes to be the helper.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. She does help for shows. Like we did a show not that long, like maybe 2 months back, and she was my assistant. But I try to do, if I'm doing shows these days, they tend to be of a different style. So I'm not needing an assistant.
When she was putting the flower in her mouth, how was that conversation? Was she like, I'd love to try it? Or were you like, how would you feel about putting the flower?
Yeah, there was a lot of verbal massaging to convince her, especially for some of those records, because once you're going, I think straws out of the mouth was somewhere between 50 and 60 straws in 60 seconds. So it's about 1 a minute. So we moved at a speed where like I got risky. So there is one time I caught her in the face.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
So we're like, yep, that's right there is like, okay, I owe you a lot of dates and alcohol and chocolate.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sure you have had a ton of injuries in your career. Is that?
I don't think so. I don't get that from April.
Have you not had many injuries?
I have never broken a bone. I have probably the worst one that I can remember recently was arrow catching. I changed my catch style. So I used to come this way, and then I went to this way. And so you can see already my pinky coming up. So it's like a very magician thing to hold a coin like this. When I first was catching, I was like almost like doing football, like you try to do that cone in the back. So my pinky came down first. So the middle of my catch circle is that pinky. So it caught that pinky and then ended up really hurting that, especially once you get to like the 40, 50 mile per hour range. So now when I catch this, I almost like do this and I catch the arrow and I pivot more. So rather than catching the arrow and just trying to squeeze, right, which requires a lot of like friction to stop it, I now have like a technique where I'm doing this and I'm tilting it so it's sliding as I squeeze. So I get that. So
and
like
there's no glove.
We train with gloves now.
Okay.
I train with gloves, but if I'm doing like a video that wants to do well, I don't use the glove, but that's only like a couple times. Versus like the videos in practice, I always consistently use a glove, and one of them I have the back two fingers taped together because it just lessens the chance of you hitting the weakest finger on the hand.
Since we don't have much time, you mentioned 40, or you mentioned like 23 world records. So in addition to whips, in addition to the arrows, what else are we talking about in terms of Guinness or the world records you've broken?
Let's see. Fastest time to deal a deck of cards two-handed. Fastest time to deal one-handed. Most riffle shuffles in a minute. Eggs broken. Fire hoops, fire knife highest in the air, most number of fire eating. Shoot the moons. Most number of Jenga blocks stacked on a single Jenga block. A lot of whips, a lot of cracking.
A variety of skills too. It's not all like catching things or
Did a lot of this come from circus when you were?
Yeah, it almost all came from circus. Everything was. All of these things were because I wanted to develop a specific skill within circus arts, or I wanted to be able to promote something in circus arts, or somebody hired me to break a world record. So then it's like, okay, let's work together to figure out what would be the best record to break for that particular show.
Mm-hmm. I see. And how long did you travel with the circus arts?
I was full-time performing for about... I'll say 60 months rather than 5 years because it wasn't consistent. It wasn't like within a 5-year span. It was like 60 months out of a 10-year span.
Wow. It's everything I can do right now to not make a whip sound.
Do it.
And then I bet you've got a good one too.
Do you
What's your best whip sound?
Devo song?
Yeah.
I have never performed to the Devo song. Yeah. It's like, it's one of those things that now all whip performers hate that song. So it's like, you don't want to.
I bet.
Wait, I did it, and it but pretty good.
That's
good.
That's pretty
Kristen?
good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Seemed like
way to go.
It sounded like you just like coughed up something.
Hesitant, yeah. Oh, did you sneeze?
I'm sorry, one more time. Okay.
I think yours is best.
April?
I am not a voice actor. I'm not going to jump that.
You're not.
How do I not have like just a ton of whips near? Oh, I might have one.
Can you tell us about the mannequin behind you? Does that have any significance that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I do quick change magic. So entire closet, all of those are quick change outfits. There's just like 10 quick change dresses, a couple of quick change suits.
What is quick change? Tony seems to know what it. Well, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I saw this on America's Got Talent. There was a woman who did it on America's Got Talent.
Most likely to be Solange or Leah Kyle.
I think but it was fascinating.
Blonde, brunette.
Brunette.
So it's probably Solange.
She was like, I mean, in seconds she's changing completely different outfit.
Yep, absolutely gorgeous. Now
it's amazing.
Some of the most beautiful quick change mechanics. So that's just set there for.
Now I'm getting desperate because we're about to lose you, April. But just all the science in your head and the big dreams. I'm just curious. Is there anything that you go to bed and you dream and you wake up and you're like, I got to make this thing, but that you haven't done?
Oh, that I haven't done. That's a very long list. I have a to-doist of just like hundreds of ideas that I just haven't gotten around to yet. Like, I want to build an L1 and L2 cert rocket. I want to build a bulletproof outfit. I want to do a carbon fiber corset. I want to do a Kevlar corset, a fiberglass corset. I want to do like body armor for cats. I want to do like composite polycarbonate scales for like a scale mail dress, chain mail dress. There's a lot of stuff that I have on my list that I'm like, what is the most realistic?
Cruise to Alaska sometime, maybe?
Oh, yeah, that would be super fun.
I'm enjoying talking to you so much, and you're just so innovative, so inspiring, so prolific, and with that beautiful mind. With your powerful brains. I'm just excited for you to keep creating stuff and keep breaking records, and I'm gonna be rooting for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
and
Kristen.
Solange, I guess.
Yeah, she's doing super well.
And we're so glad that a mind as powerful as yours is working for NASA as well. That's a comfort, you know. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
I mean, it's pretty.
She is
appropriate.
Oh. Well, it's sincere regardless.
I am a civil servant.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, April, thank you so much for coming today. This was just so fascinating and inspiring.
If people want
to, thank you, Tony.
If people want to find your content, where should they look?
If you can remember my name, it's April Jennifer Choi. If you can't, just Google Flaming Lesbians. We are like the first search result. We're like half the first 69 search results. If you Google Flaming Lesbian Brides, I guarantee you will find me. It'll be like
that's great.
5 of the top 10 pictures.
That's awesome. Oh, thanks so much, and good luck to all your ventures. I want you to accomplish everything on your list.
If only there was enough time. Thank you so much, Tony.
All right. First of all,
what did we learn?
I could not tell you. I could not. I mean, she is so smart.
Yeah.
That I was actually picking out words and kind of trying to put them together in my head.
That's called listening. Yeah.
You're learning.
She has one of those minds that it's just fascinating. Like she just sees all those things.
Yeah.
I could listen to it all the time. I mean, just being around her, I felt smarter.
Yes.
And so excited about all the things that she's capable of, all the dreams that she has for the future. I want to just jump behind her on that pink unicorn motorcycle.
Yeah.
And just like drive into NASA for a second.
Yeah.
Help build a spaceship or whatever.
Yeah. And I want to be in a mid-sized rental next to you and also coming along for that journey.
Yeah, I know. I would never. I'm too scared of motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's not what this
I'm
is
surprised
about.
you guys have never heard about the quick changing art.
No, never heard of it.
No, I didn't know that.
That was just right behind her.
Yeah.
When you get home, YouTube America's Got Talent quick change artist.
Okay.
And she just it's hard to even describe, but it's like she just changes outfits like within seconds. It looks like magic.
Is one outfit underneath the other one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they are, sometimes they're put on really quick.
Oh.
Well, it's really fascinating.
I would say layers that also describes April. There's so many layers.
The transitions tonight are really good.
And she just has
flow state.
So many things going on. And
yes, that's really a good point.
I was just so impressed with her, and I'm such a big fan.
Working at NASA is very impressive. Catching arrows out of midair is very impressive.
Yeah.
Breaking whip records is very impressive. And
doing it all in style.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to see someone who picks goals and achieves them. You know, it's like, I want to do this, and then I do them. And to be reminded that is possible is something that I've enjoyed relearning or reminding myself of when talking to these people. And I'm going to stop talking now.
Oh, that's good. I also liked how the math was such a theme too. Like I never, math is so underrated in society right now in our education system. It's one of the most important things. It's one of the truths. Like no matter what your religion is, you can never disprove math. It's the only thing that you can go back and it'll be the same over and over again. And it's so beautiful to be reminded of how important it is to study it and also how she was using it to achieve everything that she was doing.
You guys got a handle on 8 times 7?
56.
Nailed it. Tony?
Thanks.
7 times 9.
63.
Good job. Okay, Matt, are you
God,
ready?
here we go. Palms are sweaty.
105 times 61.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry, I did
Imagine
that
if
too.
I knew.
I know. Okay. 5 times.
5 times. Why, that's disrespectful. 5
Do you know
times
what-
12?
8 times
Yeah,
8.
what's-
8 times 8.
64.
See,
Good.
this is.
Do you know one thing that I was
Isn't it?
thinking? One thing I was thinking though with her is when people hear like, oh, arrows shoot at her and she catches whatever, the immediate thing is like, that's crazy. Like that's what
Sure.
somebody would say. But the way that she has broken it down, it's the exact opposite. She has thought so through it
Yes.
and the science and where to stand and where to do her hand. It's so specific. There's so much thought put into it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Standard deviation. We all nodded, being like, yeah. We didn't know what that meant, but I think
no
she
clue.
did, and that's what's most important.
Well, I bet you she knew exactly like the radius of our nods. And
Oh yeah, totally,
What
totally.
that
You know she
meant.
did.
This podcast is like we're all in a family and someone's coming over for dinner and we're trying, like the boss is coming, Dad's boss is coming over, and we all have to try to do our best to behave ourselves. And I'm proud of both of you, how you handle yourselves.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we are a good family.
Yeah.
Very good
I can't
family.
believe that we're a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kevin's our dad.
Yeah.
Kevin is our
Daddy.
That was a Headgum podcast.